Ois Dalet. So the Rebbe explains now that because Yaakov is the Kav HaTorah and the birur of Kav HaTorah, Torah Avodah Gemilas Chasodim, of Abram, Yitzchok, and Yaakov. Yaakov is Torah. Torah is Mevarer Milmailu Lamata. So you um, um, start off with the birur of Lavan, Keser Chochma Bina, and then you come down to Esav, which is the Zayin Midas. The birur, which is Milmata Lamaila, which is the birur actually that is done now. Uh, Over there, you started off first being Mevarer the Zayin Amomim, the Savi Zayin Midas. And the Keni Knizi Kadmeni that correspond to the Moichin, to Chochma Bino Das, that will be lost in Lovoi when the Abishter will give us also those nations representing the three levels of Keser Chochma Bina. Let's look inside. But Inyan who the idea is the Habirudim the Yaakov Hoyu Bederach Bechlal Bederach Milmailo Lamata. The Birudim that Yaakov did were generally speaking in a way from above to below, which means alidei gilui oir elyon, by revealing a supreme light. Instead of elevating and working milmato to bring it up l'maylo, it's bringing down a gilui oir milmaylo, and that's the way the biru takes place. Ki Yaakov hu Torah. Yaakov is the level of Torah. Ki yadu, as it's known, shegimul ha'ovis, that the three forefathers hem gimul hakavim of Torah Avodah Gemilas Chasodim. They are the three lines of Torah Avodah, davening, korbanos, and Gemilas Chasodim, an act of kindness. So Avraham is Gemilas Chasodim. He is acts of kindness. Yitzchak is the level of Avodah. And Yaakov is the level of Torah. Torah is mevarer milmayla lamat, bidur. The sorting out of Torah is from above to below, as explained earlier in the Mamer that was Yud Kislev of that year, where the Rebbe explained this idea. Torah is mavader that it's the level of Sholem comes mainly through Torah because it's not dressing it up in the Mevarer. As the Rebbe explains, the Achiluk, Be'inyan Achiluk shebein habiru the tefillah habiru the Torah. So over there, the Rebbe explained the difference between when you sort it out through davening and the bitter of Torah. Torah, tefillah is milmata lamaila, and Torah is milmaila lamata. What's the chiluk? Zabiru the tefillah b'derech milmata lamaila, which means shemis asik im hamiz barer. You occupy yourself with the one that you are mevarer. You invest yourself, and you work with him is barer. With the nefesh habahamis, when you daven to have the nefesh habahamis understand and commit to elikus, nefesh elikis has to dress up and sort of convince the nefesh habahamis to go along. But the bitter of Torah is from above to below. That the oil of Torah shines, and that is mevarer the inyonim. The achiluk shel bein shnei inyonim, the difference between these two matters, the two ideas between Torah and Tefillah, it's not only in the way that you're mevarer, whether you dress up or it comes memela milmaila lamata. But elogam beseder habirur. It's also the order, how you start up, depending the habirur sheba'ofen de milmata l'maylo. When the birur is in a way from below to above, like tefillah, shemis asik imam mizbarer that you're occupying with mizbarer. Gam seder habirur hu milmata l'maylo. So also the order, how are you mevader? You start from below and you go higher because you are slowly and working with the mizbara to bring him up. So you start milmat lamat. So betchila mevarer hatacht. First you mevarer the lower one, the achar kacha elyon, and then the upper one. But v'habir urbai for the milmay lamata. But when you're sorting out milmay lamata, through a revelation of light, milmaylo, who beseder the milmay lamata. Then it's an order. You start off with the top, and then you come to the bottom. And therefore, it explains why by us the order is different in this golus, and the birur that would take place is different than the birur that took place through Yaakov. We go milmata lamayla. We start first with the 7 nations, the 7 midos, and then we go to Keni Knizi V'Kadmoni. But by Yaakov it was the other way. First he started with Lavan, with Keser Chachobina, and then he went to the Zion midos. V'lochein ba'birurim achshav she'em be'ikir ba'ofen de milmata lamayla. In the birurim now, the way they are presently, she'em be'ikir ba'ofen de milmata lamayla, which are mainly from below to above. Haseiderhu, the order is shehabirur design tachtoinus, the sorting out of the lower 7 who lifnei habirur the gimel rishonis. The 7 tachtoinus, the 7 midos, is before to the sorting out of the 3 first ones, the Kesser Chochma Bina. Now this is also coincides with the fact that in the beginning there was the conquering of the land of the 7 nations, the Zion, and then in the future to come, will be also the conquering of Keni Knizi V'Kadmoni. The Yud Kislev, and the Rebbe says we know the explanation on this of the Masters whose redemption of Yud Kislev, which is the Mittler Rebbe, and this is it was during that week. This was already Shabbos, which was Yudalit Kislev, but his Geula was on Yud Kislev, and the Shabbos that follows Yud Kislev, which is the Shabbos of Vayishlach of Yudalit Kislev, that is when all matters have their elevation. So Shahaliyah, the Yud Kislev, Hibiyema Shabbos Shalachar, of the elevation of Yud Kislev is on the Shabbos that follows that. So he explains the Bekibush Yeshua Nisbareru Rak Zayin Hamidus, that when Yeshua conquered all that was Nisbarer were the 7 midos. Also the moichin that as they're connected to the midos, not the moichin itself, that is included in the birur of the 7 amamim. But the Gimel Rishonos, the first 3 is Bararu, Losid Love, they will be sorted out in the future to come. Mashen came by Birurim de Yaakov, as opposed to the Birurim of Yaakov, Shahoyu B'derech Milmay Lamat. He was Mevader from above to below. Not like now, from below to above, but he was from the top to the bottom. Hoya Seder, so there the Seder was, so B'tchila Birer Keser Chochma Bina Lavan. First, it was Mevader Keser Chochma Bina, the 3, which is Lavan. And then the 7 emotions, which is Esav. So that's why he says that he was delayed, because he had to first be Mevarer the Gimel Rishonis, and then he came to be Mevarer Esav the Zion midos. Hey. So it's known, the Rebbe says that there is an advantage also in the birur milmata l'maylo, even though that it seems if it's milmayla l'mata, it's a stronger birur, it comes from above, but there's still a birur in our avoda milmata l'maylo. V'hine yadua, da'agam shebichlal habirur b'derech milmayla l'mata, generally speaking, when it's the birur is from above to below, it's greater than the birur of from below to above. So notwithstanding that, yes, yisrin behabirur b'derech milmata l'mayla. There is still an advantage to the birur as it comes from below to above, al habirur b'derech milmayla l'mata, over the birur that comes from above to below. The habirur b'derech milmayla l'mata, the birur that comes from above to below, kivan shahabirur hu mitzad hagiluer. Over there, how is the birur taking place? It's because there is a revelation of light, which means it doesn't come from within the lower level, the tachten, the mizbarer. It comes from above. It's something, a light that pushes, and it doesn't change the dumato. So then it's not so connected to the tachten itself. It's something that comes from the outside, milmaylo. As opposed to the biru which comes milmata l'maylo. Over there, the tachten itself becomes a vessel for godliness because it comes from the tachten. Now, so this explains that's why by the story by Yaakov with Esau, even though Yaakov came to be Mavarer Esau, but because it was milmaylo lemato, it didn't really make a permanent change. This is that even after Yaakov impact that birur of Esau milmaylo lemato, v'ad asher vayoratz Esau likrosoi vayichabkeyu gema vayishakeyu, to such an extent that Esau ran towards him and he hugged him and he kissed him. So he was able to influence Esau to change him around. Amar loi, he still told him, Vanin esnalo liiti goimer ada sharove eladenisira. I'm going to go slowly, Yaakov says to Esau, until I'm going to come to my master to Seir. When ve'ema say Yelech, when is he going to come? He says he's going to go slowly. B'mei Mashiach, in the days of Mashiach, Shneamar, over there, Ba'olu Mashim, Ba'artzian Lishpeit Es Har Esov. Over there is going to be in the Mount Tzion to show the Har Esov. It's going to take place later on, the full birur. Birur the Esov Shanasa de Yaakov. Because the birur of Esov that came through Yaakov, that was through the revelation of light from above, Kinal. That's why that birur wasn't complete. And what is the ultimate sorting out of Esav, Me'em Mashiach, Hu'aidei Masenu V'avedesenu B'meshach Zman HaGolus? That is through our avodah, our actions, and our labor, our service, in the duration of the time of Golus. Birur b'derech milmata l'maylo. This is sorting out in a way from below to above. So we have to complete, because the birur milmaylo is not a thorough, and we need to do this during the time of Golus, the Sheva Amomin that we're trying to conquer. Yeshloimar zeh shehoyot tchila habirur shaloi al de Yaakov. The fact that his first the birur was through Yaakov, but that it was milmayla lamato, hu nisinas koyach, That provided the power that there can also be the bitter in a way from below to above. So first it was milmayla lamata through the avodah of Yaakov, but that's a great light, but it's not something that can penetrate, that the mata itself needs still to be fixed up, and that takes to the avodah milmato that the Yidden do through the time Meshach Zman Hagolus. And therefore, Rebbe says, the Gilu Oir that was impacted Esav was the preparation so that we should be able to continue to be mevared here b'Meshach Zman Hagos.